Welcome to the April 22nd Sedro-Woolley City Council Meeting. It is 6 o'clock and I'll call this meeting to order. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, we'll start with roll call. I'll start with Council Member Loy,
He's here.
Council Member Lavaca,
Present.
Council Member Henderson,
Here.
Council Member Peterson,
Present.
and online Council Member DeYoung.
Present.
Perfect. And Council Member Cock.
Here.
Okay, thank you. I will be looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Council Member Lavaca, seconded by Council Member Henderson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I would be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda, items 1 through 4.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Council Member Henderson,
I'll second.
seconded by Council Member Peterson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion passes. And with that, we have an introduction of our special guests. Charlie?
Public Works Director Bill Bullock's going to run with this. Go for it, Bill.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So with us today, we have, I call them SE Squared, but they're the Skagit River System Cooperative. They're, at this point, some of the foremost experts and have the most modern knowledge of the Skagit Valley River Basin, basically. And they've been working on the 2080 100-year floodplain predictions in the Skagit Valley, and they've been working with various jurisdictions. And they're here tonight to talk a little bit about what their efforts are, what their goals and purpose are for the Skagit Valley, and the predictive modeling and flood resilient benefits they can provide for us. And we've already worked with them in a few capacities, and we'll continue to work with them in the future in various capacities as well. But with us is Nora Kramer. I believe she's leading the bulk of the presentation, but we also have, thank you, Dr. Guillaume. I want to speak French when I see his name, so I apologize. And then Steve Modemeyer, all from SE Squared, and they're going to let us know what they're all about tonight.
Here we go. I'm Nora Kammer. Just a couple corrections. I'm with Skagit River System Cooperative, which RSC, and I've got some colleagues here from Skagit Climate Change Consortium, SC Squared, and apologies, they really kind of just want to muddle together. The SRSC, Skagit River System Cooperative, is a tribal consortium between the Swinomish tribe and the Sauk-Suiattle tribe. And we work on habitat and fisheries issues. And I'll let my colleagues Steve and Guillaume introduce themselves.
I'm Steve Modemeyer. I work with Skagit River Systems as an advisor on community resilience and community outreach.
Hi, thanks for having us. My name's Guillaume Mauger. You can remember that next time, Bill. And I'm with the University of Washington Climate Impacts Group and the Skagit Climate Science Consortium.
We're here today to share with you a brief introduction to some of the work that we are now wrapping up and to describe some work that we would like to undertake in the coming years, hopefully in partnership with Sedro-Woolley. In 2023, the Swinomish tribe submitted a grant application to the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation and received approximately $700,000 in grant funding to develop a hydraulic model to begin to explore some of the flooding issues in the Skagit watershed. Swinomish partnered with SRSC and SC Squared, working with experts like Steve and Guillaume, and hired Northwest Hydraulic Consultants to do the modeling of the river from New Halem to the saltwater. The project funding was applied for in 2023. The project kickoff was in 2024. The modeling and the outreach work was undertaken in a rigorous way in 2025. And this year we are working on wrapping up with a final report that we expect to have finalized at the end of the summer in late August or September of 2026. There have been several questions about the public availability of the model and its products, and I'd like to address that. Yes, the model and its results will be publicly available at the conclusion of the project. They'll be in a format that does require expertise to use and run. They won't be in like a layperson format. So right now the model is in draft form. By late summer 2026, the report and model will be final, and after that, no data sharing agreements are needed. We're in a situation that I think is analogous to unstamped engineering drawings. At the end of the project, our engineer will stamp the model with their final report. You wouldn't build a house with unstamped drawings. We're kind of waiting for that final product to fully release that to the public. So in the interim, we have this data sharing agreement that makes this really clear acknowledgement of the draft form. So hopefully that explains some of the need in the coming months for that data sharing agreement. It's only interim till September. After that, have at it. So back to the model. We spent much of the last year sharing results with communities and groups in the watershed. This project has really been the first opportunity to share these kinds of mapping products and this kind of information. Your planning department suggested that I show you what they currently work with, and see, change to slide 2. And that's paper FEMA maps. The Sedro-Woolley maps were adopted in 1989. Most of the county maps were adopted in 1984. Your staff has big paper printouts of these that they leaf through to look at and understand flood risk. Relative to much of the lower valley, Sedro-Woolley is not in terrible shape. Zone X is the light gray areas in this map, and that's the 500-year floodplain, which is a rarer event than a 100-year event. And then the blackish areas are the 100-year floodplain, FEMA floodplain. Change to slide 3, please. Since the FEMA maps don't span between jurisdictions, you would have to track down a separate tile to get the unincorporated areas outside of Sedro-Woolley. So that's what we have here, the areas south of town to the river. Riverside Park is that large red circle. If you wanted to know how much risk there is, these older maps have squiggly lines that are contours, and there's little numbers, and those are elevations. And if your staff wanted to go through the painstaking process of converting the elevation to the datum used in the 80s and relating that to ground topography, they might be able to figure out what FEMA says is the risk, or the depth of flood risk. Change to slide 4. In contrast, this is an example of the new model results. This is flood depths for the existing 100-year event. Note the 2 red circles are areas where our model, the newer model, shows flooding in a 100-year event where FEMA maps do not. So that's an area of attention that there might be some unacknowledged risk. Change to slide 5. Zooming out to the lower valley, I will note these are really impactful results. And so here are the results for the 10, 100, 25, and 100-year events for existing hydrology. The 100-year event, the panel on the right, would be a truly devastating event for the Skagit Valley. There would be widespread damage. Change to slide 6. Our model also explored climate scenarios. Here we are looking at predictions for 2040s events. We also modeled 2080s events. So we have present day, 2040s, and 2080s. The areas in yellow are areas predicted to have flooding that don't presently have flooding predicted in that recurrence interval. And our results roughly indicate that the 10-year event in the 2080s is roughly similar to today's 100-year event. Outreach throughout this project has been a top priority. We met with staff from the Upper Skagit Tribe on several occasions, and they've attended our conferences. We've tried to conduct outreach and give guided presentations to essentially any group or jurisdiction that will have us. At the end of the summer, we'll host a public open house. But with where the model is at now, or where it will be in September at the conclusion of the project, we did not accomplish everything we wanted to. In order to keep the scope narrow enough that someone would give us money for it, there were things that we knew at the outset we would like to do that we didn't ask for money for, and we'd like to do that now. We also learned more about the watershed in the valley and some of the dynamics that it takes to have these conversations. So we've been working on a project idea that allows us to continue moving all of this information forward and hopefully make progress. At this point, let's see, we've been meeting with your staff to discuss some of those ideas and develop a potential scope of work. At this point, we've submitted a grant pre-application, and that's a fairly informal phase of grant applications where we described a project concept, and we've not yet identified Sedro-Woolley as a potential partner. In June, we would need to submit a full application, and we would really need and want clear support from City Council to proceed in that partnership. The way the project is formulated right now is it's changed a little bit from the first phase, where SRSC, the Skagit River System Cooperative, would be the project applicant. We would have partners with the Swinomish and Sauk-Suatal Tribe, Skagit Climate Science Consortium, and hopefully Sedro-Woolley. So that's kind of the structure of what we're envisioning. Change to slide 7. The overall project we propose working on identifies 3 main tasks that we would like to take on. One is modeling the Sauk River to assist the Sauk-Suatal Tribe and Darrington in assessing their flood and erosion risks. 2 is to make all this information not only public, but broadly usable to anyone in a usable location and usable format in something as easy to use as Google Earth. So we'd like to develop a web tool for model results. And the third task is we want to begin exploring ways to incorporate flood resiliency into the ways that communities interact with the Skagit. And that's where we would like to work with Sedro-Woolley to work through a pilot project exploring community-led, multi-benefit solutions for flood resiliency. And Steve Modemeyer is going to share more about what we have in mind for this aspect of the project.
Don't leave yet.
Okay.
Thanks, Nora. So she's been describing, right, that the floods, that the state-of-the-art flood model has been created, and there's a potential to take that model and make it more usable for Sedro-Woolley and others in the Sauk River with this next grant proposal. I think what you're asking from Sedro-Woolley is support. You're not asking them to fund it, right?
Yeah, right.
Right, so it'd be support and then participation of staff and the community to look at the benefits. So if we have an understanding of where flooding occurs now and where it's going to likely be occurring, it's going to become more and more part of everyday living here. And so what we've created so far and what we'd like to continue is creating a model that makes us all smarter about it, makes the city smarter about it. So when we make decisions about where the city puts infrastructure or land use decisions, that we have real good information to deal with. So this model creates the opportunity, but part of making it useful is that it is useful. So a year or so ago, we had focus groups where we met with different folks around in the Skagit and said, you know, what are the issues? What are you looking at? And the idea is, let's find out what the drivers are and what people need. So that would be kind of our approach in this, not focus groups, but to work with folks in Sedro-Woolley, assuming that this all comes together with funding, and get smart about it and start looking at how can this be useful for staff and for the community at large. So that's our, I guess our request is support this effort to get funding, to move this to the next level, make it more user-friendly, make it something that is useful to most of us or all of us in a way that fits with local values and local concerns. And the way we've pitched it in the pre-proposal is value planning, which is something where we take local community values, and then those are the basis for which we can have these discussions. One of the beauties of the value planning is that instead of saying, here's the answer, no, here's the answer, and then everybody figures out what the answer is, you kind of say, well, what are our values, and how do we come up with answers that meet those values? And so it's a way to help people kind of come together and come up with solutions that they might otherwise have fought over otherwise. So it's a nice model for community engagement. It helps elevate the discussion. It gets people smarter about what they've got going, and it also builds ownership. So it's not outside experts coming in. It's literally the information and the ideas and how it's used are locally owned, because we ask people to come together and talk together about it, what's important to them, and then we help them make that part of the way that the information is made available. So that's the proposal. I think we're ready now for questions.
Okay. Why don't I start online since we can't see Carl? So, Councilmember DeYoung, do you have any questions?
I wasn't able to see the slide, nor was it in the packet, so I wasn't able to see this or hear this information until just now. So I would reserve my comments until I've had time to review the information. Thank you.
Okay. How about at the dais? Councilmember Cock?
Yes, thank you for your interesting presentation. As we know from our last flood, flooding is probably continuing threat in Sedro-Woolley. Two questions. One, and this probably you probably know nothing about, or you do know, but it isn't in your wheelhouse. We've had questions, why hasn't the Skagit been dredged by the Army Corps of Engineers to try to deal with this flooding? And the second question is, could we use such mapping? Could they be adapted for emergency preparedness uses? The maps, not to be critical of the county, but the maps that were available on our last flood left a lot to be desired. Thank you.
Well, certainly the maps are going to make it better for everyone in emergency management to know what's, to predict where roads are going to be covered with water or not, and also how to prepare for, how to make it so that people can, thrive. I mean, a flood can come and go, but we can still pick up the pieces fairly quickly instead of having it be a disaster. So it's super helpful that way. I think with dredging, there's always the complications of the rivers with a lot of sediment, like the Skagit, have a lot of sediment. So there's always regulatory and fish habitat issues that go along with that. But certainly these mapping information and these discussions we're talking about would be a chance for folks to really dive into those topics, understand them better, and then figure out how to navigate them better together.
Oh, I have one other question.
Can I let Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you. So thank you for coming tonight and, presenting to us. We appreciate you coming out here. I had a quick question. So does this model and this study reflect the recent Seattle City Light FERC settlement and the additional flood storage that Ross Dam provides?
No, so there was no settlement when we developed the model, so we just proceeded with the pre-existing operations at the reservoirs. The model could be updated to run new reservoir operations. You could run you can modify the model to mimic a dredge and see what that does for flood levels, and that's one of the benefits of now having the tool. You can manipulate it to try different approaches for flood resiliency, see what happens to flood levels with dredging, and I think that would be probably a next step, is updating it to what the current operations will become.
Okay, Councilmember LaVaca?
Thank you very much. I just had a question on that slide 4 with the 100-year map. It showed water wrapping around, if we go back to slide 4, Woody. Right here. It shows that in that red, that indentation for southwest corner of the city, the water kind of wrapping around. Is that what we experienced in 2025? Maybe that's a question for Bill. No. So the 2025 was record flooding, and it was...
No, 2025 wasn't really a record flood. It was more of a typical major flood. So if you look at all the floods from 91 to 25, they're all within 8 inches of each other. What this is representing, and please correct me if I'm wrong, this is either 2040 or 2080.
This is the existing conditions 100-year event.
100-year event, okay.
I don't believe anyone around has seen a 100-year event.
No, yeah, correct, we haven't. So basically, and if the animation that was up just a little while ago is really telling of how this progresses. So this isn't that we hit 100 years and that flooding in the south third of the town and the 100-year event just happens. It actually comes in through close between the treatment plant and Jameson Street roundabout. And so that's where some of the ideas this team has developed, that if we had just really a pretty minor flood wall resiliency in that place, that flood doesn't go through that bottleneck.
I would definitely agree with building up. Yeah,
But-
maybe a little farther, but from what I understood from the presentation was that this is the current mapping for right now of the 100-year flood, and what we had was record levels of flooding, maybe not in Sedro-Woolley. 2021, when we had the last flood for Sedro-Woolley, it was affected a little bit more than it was this time, even though the emergencies went out and flooding went into the slough in Burlington and different areas. We didn't see the same impact. But it was still said to be a 500-year flood possibly. We got record levels. We didn't get to that 500-year level because the water didn't continue to rise up. But I would have imagined we would have gotten close to the 100-year. I don't remember seeing something like that. So,
I'm sorry, maybe a little clarification. The National Weather Service does our flood level predictions as the river gauges are increasing or decreasing and whatever. And at the beginning, they were predicting a 100-year flood. What we ended up, which is what you heard was a 41-foot flood, and that's 41 feet at the Mount Vernon flood gauge. What we ended up getting was, like I said, the typical major flood we've gotten for the last 30 years was a 37-foot flood. So their beginning predictions were very conservative, and I don't know what year flood we got, whether it was a 25-year flood or whatever it may have been, but it was, like I said, your typical major flood that all of our levees in the valleys are actually designed to handle. We just didn't get the 100-year level.
Councilmember Cog?
Yes, I've always had, well, more recently I had a question. Climate science seems to indicate that snowpacks across the west are significantly lower than they should be. Yet the flooding risk is problematic. Is that because, from rains from the Pacific Ocean? Is that what is it going on there?
I'll let Guillaume speak to this. This is his world.
State's
Yeah, thanks for
climatologist.
asking a question I can answer. Yes, so it is less an effect of warming of the Pacific Ocean and just an effect in the sense of if there's a higher snow line and you have the same amount of precipitation, more of it's falling as rain, and so you can have bigger floods. That's the main effect.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So it runs right off instead of stacking up.
I see. And so it's not like being held like a battery of water, it's just running off?
Exactly.
I see,
Yeah.
I see. Okay, thank you, that's very interesting. And just one other quick follow-up. So we could use these maps the day of a flood, right? To be updated so we could show people, this is where your danger is, right? This is where you need to go away from.
Yes and no. I mean, we have some very specific CFS scenarios modeled. So these maps reflect that inflow, and what's coming in any given event is a little bit different. That said, we have talked with the Corps, and they're working on an effort to compile various modeling efforts and provide some more prescriptions on how to get kind of those forecasts out real time. That's totally separate, that's the Corps. But they're interested in this model and how it supports or parallels the work. That said, when in December, I mean, if we're draft now, we were really drafty in December. And we have all these results that are not finalized, but they said, you have a 100-year event coming in, and we have a 100-year event modeled. So we were looking at it, and I believe Skagit DEM did look at some of our results to get some ideas of what to expect. But it's not as easy as, unless someone took it on to like actually input what the Weather Service says we're gonna get as river flow, to take the results and say, this is what's coming this week.
It's more precautionary.
Yeah.
I get it. Thank you.
Councilmember Peterson?
Thank you for your presentation. I think that these maps are a lot more modern than the FEMA maps. I mean, the FEMA maps were created around when I was born. And I think having this modern science prepares, whoever has this data can be better prepared for infrastructure planning, for zoning, for emergency preparedness, all sorts of things. So I'm in favor of entering into a partnership. I think Sedro-Woolley is really well placed to not only protect our own residents and keep ourselves safe, but also help some of our surrounding jurisdictions that are more at risk. We saw families from Hamilton come during the last flood, which wasn't that bad here, or generally, I think, in the valley, like relatively. So I think this could be really, really good for Sedro-Woolley, and Sedro-Woolley is particularly well placed to be a leader in this kind of hazard mitigation.
Okay, I actually see
Thank you.
one more question from Councilmember DeYoung. Is that you with your hand raised?
Hi, thank you. Yeah, thank you. So I have some, I guess, more strategic questions. There's three of them. Can you explain in plain language exactly what data you're offering to share and what decisions it's reliable enough to inform in the ways of planning, preliminary engineering, or final design support? And I have two other questions.
I might need you to repeat the second, but the data that will be shared as a product of this project is the model itself, like the model domain, and all of the rasters, which is like the GIS layers that if someone, like if your staff has.
Please explain GIS. Is that graphical
Okay, so that's like
interface
mapping
systems?
software.
Is that geological? Yeah, okay, thank you.
So that's, if staff has mapping software, it's geospatial information systems, and they create maps that have air
So
photos.
is this for planning or preliminary engineering or final design support?
So certainly for planning.
Reliable for planning? Okay.
Yeah, certainly for planning. I think any engineering would need to, an engineer honestly would need to speak to that, and I don't think I can.
Okay. Final design support?
So the model itself will have a final design report, but in terms of applications or conclusions, I think that would need to be approved. A stamped engineer would need to review that.
Got it. And then what are the key assumptions, the limitations, and the scenario choices built into your model that the city should understand before relying on it?
Do you want to talk about that, Guillaume?
Yeah, so I think these are great questions, and they may take more time than we have to talk over today, but there may be,
I look forward to your document.
yeah, we'll have
So
that,
question 3,
okay.
sure. If the city enters into the agreement, would our staff, engineers, consultants, and legal counsel be allowed to use the data fully for the intended wastewater treatment plant purpose, including creating internal work products and briefing materials?
I believe so. Like I said, at the conclusion of the project, the model will be fully accessible to anyone that wants to use it with, no fee or anything. They just download it to their computer and run it. Like I said, that takes some expertise, so I think, my guess is y'all would need an engineer consultant to help with that task. But yes, I think at that point, they could run the model as is with existing conditions. As I suggested before, run alternatives, like modify the mesh that the model utilizes and run some alternatives. So all of that would be in the city's ability to do. The product would be just a tool that's out there and available for use.
Okay, thank you very much. I have my questions answered. I look forward to the follow-up on question 2 about the key assumptions, limitations, and scenario choices that are built into the model that the city should understand before relying on it. Do we have a good date on when we can expect to see that? And I know we're pressed for time, so thank you for listening.
Okay, I see we have one more question. Councilmember
Thank you.
Anderson?
So it seems like, to me, it'd be important before, we move forward with a partnership or getting too excited, we see kind of what the final results of this model being open source would be. I did listen to your guys' presentation with the county. I know that they didn't enter an agreement with you. And I think very wisely so. I think they're waiting for the final product, and I think that's something we should also do. We got asked to get into a interlocal agreement a couple of meetings ago about using a model for planning on our wastewater system that's not peer reviewed as far as I know. So kind of my question would be, why would we enter an interlocal agreement for a publicly funded project with limitations on what we can do with the data?
Yeah, I guess that could make sense. Other jurisdictions have had different purposes. Looking at roads inundated, which is more of a planning exercise, but for an engineering exercise, that might be a good decision.
But I don't think we're asking for an interlocal agreement. We're asking for a letter of support to move forward with the model to help.
Sorry to interrupt. It sounds like somebody is speaking, but
Could you
we're
come to
having
the
a hard time.
microphone, please? Thank you.
Sorry, I don't think that the proposal is not to get an interlocal agreement. It's to move forward with the next phase as a letter of support is what we're looking for.
I understand that. What I was stating was we were asked for an interlocal 2 meetings ago for data sharing between us and the Swinomish tribe, if I'm not mistaken. We decided as a council to wait on that because we didn't have a complete model that was open source, peer reviewed, all those other things. I personally, I think it's great that, we're getting a modern model developed that, everybody can use. Everybody wants to get their hands on this. It's the talk of the town, literally. This is all I've been hearing about this entire week. And I think it would be wise for us before we would give a letter of support to have our hands on a finished peer-reviewed product to where we can say, okay, this is great. Maybe let's move upriver. Let's, go up to the Sauk and explore developing that model after we know that this one works, with all the parameters correct, everything else, the flood storage correct, all that other stuff, and then, you know, if we have something that works, why wouldn't we support it, right? So that's kind of where I'm at on the whole thing. And I do appreciate your guys' hard work on this. I know it's been a lot of development.
If you don't mind a point of clarification, I don't believe that we're pursuing like peer review or putting this like a peer review journal. The project conclusion would be like engineering acceptance. So like the engineers kind of approve it being final, but I don't see a peer review future for this.
So if I could, so by engineering, you mean the Army Corps of Engineers, like a federal?
No, the engineers that developed the model, Northwest Hydraulic Consultants.
Okay.
Like I said, we are planning to present or hoping to present to the Corps soon, but yeah, it wouldn't be, I don't imagine they're going to give us like a stamp of approval. I don't really know what that looks like, but.
Thank you.
I had one more question.
Okay,
So you didn't go into much about the pilot in Sedro-Woolley. What would that involve?
Well, the first half would be to collaborate with the staff and yourselves to get the information that's relevant and what you'd like to know more about. And then it would be kind of what I'm calling value planning, where we would bring folks together that are community leaders or are interested or have something that they want to explore, and then work together to kind of come up with approaches to dealing with the information that would make sense for the city. So it could be something like a day-and-a-half-long workshop, or it could be several different sorts of meetings, or it could be a range of things. We're kind of leaving it flexible exactly how it would happen, but the point is, bring it to ground, have it be locally relevant, let folks who live with the flooding participate in it so they understand it, and then also help us do a better product so that it really makes sense and is usable. So it's something along those lines of a day and a half up to maybe 3 or 4 half-day meetings where we'd work with local folks to kind of make sure it makes sense and provides information that's useful.
And the letter of support, is that for grant funding?
Yes, for the grant application.
And to whom?
To the U.S. Fish and Wildlife? No, U.S.
National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, and it's a grant called the National Coastal Resilience Fund.
And this wouldn't cost the city here, per se, any funding, right?
No, it wouldn't be match. It'd be potentially staff time would be committed to it, and so I guess that's an expense for the county, but it wouldn't be contribution of funds.
We do staff time on emergency preparedness. That's an important thing, so thank you.
thank you.
Do you want
Go ahead.
No, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much. I'm inclined to agree with Councilman Henderson on holding off before we move forward. I almost feel like this should be a countywide event, not so much localized to a specific city, but if I did see it as a city, I would almost say Concrete or Hamilton. I know Sedro-Woolley's a central area as far as like in betweens the Burlington and the Concrete Hamilton area, but those are most affected, and ultimately the county would be the one that would utilize this the best. And so they would probably be, in my opinion, the best to accommodate the request. Thanks.
I appreciate you guys coming and giving this presentation for us, and I look forward to September when the information will be available to all, and maybe looking then to see what we can do, and perhaps, I didn't hear the Upper Skagit Tribe mentioned in this, so bringing them forward with it.
Oh, yeah, I did mention them briefly. We did consult with the Upper Skagit Tribe at several occasions throughout the project when we were developing the project. Their staff attended our conference last summer where we had kind of our first look at results, checked in with their staff a few times since then. So we've been bringing them along. They're not a project partner, but they have been aware and have attended some of our events.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. We have City Administrator Report.
Thank you, Mayor Kesty. Council, good evening. One item tonight, and that is a senior services and nutrition update. So we've had some movement in this area, which is a relief, I think, for both Mayor Kesty and I. We attended a senior nutrition meeting I think it was last week, yeah, at this point. And that was a meeting where SCOA, the Skagit Council on Aging, stepped up to be the primary partner for senior nutrition countywide, and that was a key step that needed to occur to get clarity really countywide on how the programs were going to move forward now that the county was stepping out, and also to look towards the future. So SCOA immediately announced that they are not making any changes in the rest of 2026 to congregate meals or Meals on Wheels. They've got funding to do that, so that was a really big step. So the result of that is we have time now to really work on senior nutrition going into 2027. SCOA is also working on finding efficiencies. They've already identified a number of efficiencies in the system. They're hiring the county staff who does senior nutrition. So the county's been losing staff gradually, and it's becoming a real threat to just keeping the services going. So that's changing now. SCOA is hiring their staff. There will be some ask of the city going into 2027, and the mayors are going to meet with SCOA leadership here shortly to get more briefing on that and get more clarity on that. But the numbers that we talked about early on, we're really looking to like fully replace the county's money if 4 cities partnered on it, and that's changing quite a bit. SCOA is the lead for Meals on Wheels fundraising countywide, has been doing that for a long time. And councils on aging in the state, at least in Whatcom County, they run the program up there as well. So it's not unusual to have this kind of arrangement. So they are essentially a nonprofit, and they're able to do some things the county can't do operationally that can be really cost effective for the region. So on senior nutrition, that was really great news. There'll be more to come on that. There'll be some kind of financial ask coming our way, but I don't expect it to be huge numbers. They do need money we have in the budget for the rest of this year to help plug their budget and continue those services at the current level. So we will have an agreement with SCOA at some point that we'll be putting together that will just take money that's in our budget that would have gone to the county, and instead it'll go to SCOA to deliver those services. There's potential for all kinds of other partnerships under SCOA that are going to be explored here over time, and those partnerships could further bring the cost of service delivery down and really stretch the dollars. So, certainly the goal is to build and to maintain a really robust program. We have an amazing program currently. It'll look a little bit different, I think, going forward, but the goal is to keep it really in a good spot, a good, strong spot. So that's what's going on with senior nutrition. I guess I can pause there for a minute and I can move on to senior services just to see if the council has any questions on that topic. That was the most urgent item before us.
Well, and I want to say thank you so much, Charlie, because you went above and beyond for our constituents and our love for the elderly, and thank you, because I saw it firsthand, and I'm super proud. So I saw Councilmember Lavaca's light on first. I'll go there.
Thank you very much. So I did have somebody who's on the board of the community center, is also a senior in the area, and works with a lot of people that are Meals on Wheels, and they were contacting me to see if I was going to go to that April 13th. And I said, no, why would, there's great people already going. And so they mentioned how impressed they were with you, Charlie, when the energy you've put into it. And then having Mayor Kesty there, I think, is a great sign of our devotion to seeing this through and having wisdom applied to it. I would just caution, and I think that we got the right leadership team on it with Mayor Kesty and you, to be careful with the commitments countywide and just make sure that it is being equitable throughout all the cities that are engaged, and that we can see this move forward without getting caught up in the weeds of too much discussion. If Sedro-Woolley starts, it can move forward, but others aren't ready, I'd hate to see it lagging. But I believe you guys are going to do a great job, so thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you. What a drastic change from that first meeting that me and you went to, Charlie. Holy smokes, I've never seen somebody do a 180 that fast, so that's incredible. Really happy to hear that. I did briefly talk with Commissioner Burns the other day, and he said that the county's putting money forth for this, and hopefully they will in perpetuity. for understanding that, you know, there's residents that come outside of the city limits and to get the services too. So I look forward to seeing that partnership continue.
Councilmember Cock?
Just so I have this straight, so this nonprofit will be handling at all the senior centers, the congregate meals and Meals on Wheels, right?
Correct.
And who will be, so they will be provided funding from the county and a little bit from the cities to provide staffing at these centers? Is that how this is going to work through 27?
They will receive funding from a variety of sources. Or the NWRC, it's the Northwest Regional Council. That's like a 4-county organization that they're the folks who administer grant funds from the state and the federal government. There are 2 federal grants and there are 2 state grants that will be passed through to SCOA that they will manage. In addition, there is county money as well. One-time county money, but that's helping to pay for 2026. And then there will be some money from the cities through our current, essentially it's money that we've already all allocated towards senior services where the county's pulling out for the second half of the year. So we're gonna reallocate that money to SCOA directly. So they're essentially able to count on the budget from the city's money that was allocated. There's also some fundraising involved that occurs on a regular basis. Some of the senior center advisory groups are really active in that. SCOA does some of that as well, and so those monies are in there too. And there are probably other funds, but those are the big revenue sources I'm aware of.
Well, it's great SCOA stepped up because we didn't have somebody to step in before them. Okay, well, that's great. Well, thank you for your efforts, Charlie. Thank you, Mayor Custody. Let's hope this resolves it, because there was, I think, a story in the Skagit Valley Herald that indicated the funding going forward likely would be less than it is now. Is that your understanding?
The funding for the rest of this year is solid, according to SCOA. So this year won't change, but yes, in 2027, if you took a snapshot right now, there would be less funding, and we're waiting to clarify that picture. So that's where SCOA is looking for more efficiencies in the system to try to bring costs down. That's also where they're doing fundraising to help bring in more revenue. And that is also where the county will be in a discussion regarding like 50% of the senior population lives in the county, unincorporated Skagit County, so there's a big discussion to be had there. And then there's also a discussion with the cities coming, I think, on that. So it's going to be a partnership. It's going to be a big pie, with a whole bunch of different slices being filled in. And some of those remain unknowns for 2027, but now we can breathe a little bit easier knowing that 26 is set, and then we will figure out 27. And SCOA is very motivated. They're hiring a program director to run this thing. They're in the process of doing that. So they are moving real fast on this. They have a really aggressive schedule, a lot of passion.
Thank you.
Councilmember Peterson?
Thanks, everyone, for your hard work on this. It's really impressive to see this change, and I'd also like to thank SCOA for stepping up and taking on this work. They're probably not making a profit on this. So I think that's really great to hear. One thing that has come forward in this turn of events has really shown us, I think, is how vulnerable our senior meals program is, and our senior, the social component at the senior center. I'd like to see the city look into maybe grant opportunities for building resilience by improving our capital facilities. We own the building that the senior center is in, and I think building some resilience there so that if something like this happens again, we'll be more confident moving through all of the decision-making that happens.
All right.
Okay, there's a second half to this, because it can't just be that simple, right? Senior services. So this is where the county's got a contract with us. They have money in their budget for the rest of the year. Since this packet went to publication, there's even been more updates, so I'll share that with you as I go here. I'll just start with that. So the county, you'll recall, about 2 months ago, we approved a interlocal agreement amendment with the county that was clarifying at least the first half of this year, the county was truncating, stopping the agreement, terminating the agreement, and they were going to bring another agreement forward. They decided not to sign that after we approved it, and so the county has instead proposed a different interlocal agreement amendment to us that will clarify payments for the second half of the year. And it all is it all makes sense. We made a few corrections to their draft, but it all makes sense. So essentially, it just has us pay half of what we would pay in the second half of the year to the county to keep services going at the senior center. We're pulling out the Meals on Wheels portion, and that portion then would go to SCOA. So we'll get to that. But for now, the senior center is set up to continue to run the rest of this year. And then for 2027, this county's offered cities money. The county's offered to continue running it, but the county's also offered cities money. So that is a negotiation that the cities need to have with the county. In discussions with some of the other city mayors, there's interest in trying to do this together because we think there's more strength in working together than there would be each of us doing individual agreements with the county. The county put out some initial ideas, the county staff did, and in looking at those, we could come out ahead, at least on one of the models in the early years. But there are a lot of different ways to look at how to potentially allocate costs on this topic. So that's an ongoing thing that will occur. There's this funding agreement that will apply to 2027 and beyond. And in your guiding principles early on, we talked about doing a long-term agreement, and we've hit the county up with that every time we meet with them. And there is interest in exploring that on the county side. Those are the words they used. But ideally, we get as long an agreement as we can with a long cancellation, like a 12-month cancellation. Because right now it's a 30-day cancellation, and that's a real problem. If there's some crisis and we have to scramble, you can't really set up a senior center in 30 days very effectively unless you declare an emergency and do it with a high cost and high price tag. So senior services, okay for the rest of this year. We do need to do an interlocal agreement amendment. And then going forward, we need to figure out what to do. And we were thinking maybe we could contract with another city to run the senior center for us. That might be an option, but that doesn't appear to be an option, at least with our area cities. The county says they'll continue to run it if we want to continue to partner with them. And then a third option is that we could run it ourselves. And so we're going to bring some options back as we get a little deeper into this. The cost of running it ourselves versus the cost of partnering with the county should be pretty comparable. And the county is going to provide funding anyway. So we can have that conversation. We need to have it before we get to budget season so we can build the right stuff into the budget. But that's what's coming on senior services. So happy to take questions on that topic as well.
Any questions for that? Councilmember Peterson?
I remember early on when we were discussing various options on this, one of the things that came up was somehow partnering with other cities to share staff so that when we have hopefully we're offering a benefits package with annual leave and things like that. When we have our director out for a week or whatever, we'll have backfill easier and at a lower cost. Is that still on the table?
That would be a benefit to be able to do that. I think that there are still some variations to that on the table. If we truly partnered with another city or multiple cities partnered together, that would be easier to do. Or if the county had a true regional approach where all the staff were interchangeable, that would be easier to do. But we could still potentially run our own if we chose to do that and have a partnership with, let's just say Burlington, because they're next door, where we share staff back and forth. So that's always still an option. That's even an option if we made a choice and then we thought later we want to still do this.
Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you. Just from general experience of seeing how things, I don't know exactly how the Sedro-Woolley one operates, but a lot of the times, so Burlington has one paid employee, and the county has, I think there's 3 of them because Anacortes does their own. So maybe if we could take a look at how Anacortes models theirs. I know in Burlington when our coordinator's out, it is 100% volunteer covered. They have volunteer employees that have their own key, and they kind of have their they're retired and, they love coming there. They come there every day anyways. So, that could be a solution to covering, for that. As far as, I think we could get through the sharing of employees through an interlocal versus like an actual financial partnership saying, you know, like, okay, but if Burlington's covering this, we're covering that, then every time we get to budget season, it's kind of like, okay, well, are you still gonna do what you said you were gonna do last time? But if we have an interlocal that, you know, re-ups every 2 years or every 3 years or something like that, then understanding that, you know, Burlington has an emergency and we need to send our coordinator over there for 3 days because, you know, whatever, well, we should have volunteer staff to backfill that. I think that's worked out pretty well, over the last few years, but I'd also like to see how Anacortes has theirs modeled.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that when we bring some options back, for sure.
Thank you, Charlie.
Okay, if that's all,
Yep, that's all.
okay, then I'll be going to council member reports. Councilmember Lloyd, do you have something for us tonight?
I have absolutely zero tonight.
Nothing. All right, how about you, Councilmember Lavaca?
Thank you very much. So I did have a comment on a wreck that happened over on Metcalf as you're exiting, and it just crashed into a wall, retaining wall there. It was the second time that's happened where somebody went past the stop sign, hit the retaining wall. There was a question of if that stop sign could be moved out a little bit further so it's clearer, if there could be marking on the roadway, something like that. It's kind of a dangerous area. I don't know if the person was, you know, maybe under the influence or not, long day, but it's been a repeat incident, so I don't know that if you're shaking your head, if they're under the influence, the sign's gonna make a difference. But I'm wondering what we can do to maybe just improve that intersection. And then there was one more traffic-related thing, but I didn't write it down, so I'll have to email that over to you just to see if we can do that. And then besides that, the park has been a little bit of a topic over there with Olmsted, getting that opened up and seeing if we could start utilizing that. Right now, the gates are still closed. I think it opens up in May, but just to put that out, it seems to be a hot topic, yeah.
I think it opens up next Friday.
Is it next Friday? Nice. That'd be great to have open for people, just so they have the opportunity to go there. Especially with the nice weather, it's definitely been an interest. Thanks.
Okay, Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you. Police and fire, you guys did it again yesterday. We had big stuff going on here in town, and you guys rallied. I even saw a couple of my coworkers go buzzing by my house going 90. The Burlington cops showed up too, so probably the best ending that could have happened to the whole situation, and your guys' professionalism is always very much appreciated and not probably said enough, so good job, guys.
Councilmember Peterson?
I wanted to first thank Mayor Kesty. We were able to meet in her busy schedule in her first week as mayor to discuss how we can work together to meet the needs of the cities. There's a lot that we don't agree on, but we both really care, and I think everyone up here really cares about Sedro-Woolley and the people of Sedro-Woolley, and I'm really confident that we'll be able to get a lot of really good work done. I also attended a housing authority meeting. These homes provide real stability to primarily seniors. So this is a senior issue in my mind. The Sedro-Woolley Housing Authority has a waiting list of more than 500 people, which is always just seems like such a shame. So I hope that we're able to secure additional funding to maintain the existing units, but then also see more affordable housing like that here in town. I attended a training held by the Association of Washington Cities on the Mayor and Council Member Handbook. This is part of the Certificate of Municipal Leadership course, which I plan to complete this year. And I'm also registered, I wanted to let the rest of the council know, I'm registered to attend a housing mini academy for elected leaders. It's hosted by the Puget Sound Regional Council. It's in May. I think there's still spots available if anyone else is interested in attending. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Cobb? I'll get to him, Les. Yeah.
There I am. Thank you. I just wanted to repeat, and it needs to be repeated often, on the professionalism of our police force and fire department and public works. Councilmember Henderson hit it right, the nail right on the head there. And thank you very much. And also wanted to say thank you for the ride-alongs over the past couple weeks, and also the wastewater treatment tour, and watching the railroad workers install the bridge overpass over there on John Liner. Exciting times hanging out with Bill there. And by extension, I just wanted to say thank you to the directors that I had questions to prior to this meeting, to get those questions resolved, and to help us as the representatives of here as council folks and the mayor to be able to clearly and describe what is happening and the plan moving forward for the next several years in a clear and plain-spoken way, and in a way that makes sense, and a way for folks to have the opportunity to engage at whatever level they want to be in. And then wanted to also promote the fishing derby up there at Thompson Pond with the Wildcat Steelhead Club, the annual event, the event where I caught my first fish when I was 5. And we'll be handing out prizes. It's usually the youngest kid catches the big triple 8 up there, and they'll have their choice of a Captain American Zebco or possibly a Elsa Zebco. But it's a good time for families, and to get out during the springtime and enjoy the natural wonders that bring us here for the quality of life in Sedro-Woolley. Thank you kindly.
Thank you, Carl. Okay, Councilmember Cock, take it away.
Okay. I just have a few things here. I remotely attended a hearing examiner hearing on a proposed 10-house infill development off Fruitdale in my ward. I appreciated staff work on this and the opportunity to ask questions about proximity of the new housing development to the natural gas pipeline that's back there. Also, with the new Olmsted Park, there likely will be increased traffic on Fruitdale, and I continue to hear and see speeding problems along Fruitdale, which is 25 miles an hour from Highway 20 up Fruitdale to Olmsted Park. I can't recall how many times I've been passed just going the speed limit. And I just think a tragedy is going to happen there. I wonder if, and you know, not only Olmsted Park, but the Swift Center, that's, you know, once that gets developed, there'll be more traffic. I wonder if there might be some solution, rumble strips or a 3-way stop at Fruitdale and McGargyle might slow down speeding on Fruitdale. Just a thought. Speaking of Olmsted Park, I'm also very excited about its opening next Friday. My wife and I were up there walking around, and we walked to Will's Bridge, and I encourage everybody to go take a look at that. It's, you know, it's a memorial to the late Will Benefield. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. And it's a sturdy and beautiful bridge. And it, like I said, it's a lovely tribute by Janicki employees to the fellow colleague, and I think the city helped with that too. So it's really a nice memorial. And last thing, I and Mayor Kesty attended a recent meeting of the SCAT board, and was at that I was interested to hear they're monitoring fuel costs for their bus fleet, since the war in Iran has led to very high gas and diesel prices. In the Seattle Times, it said it's the highest diesel prices in state history. And there's an old saying on Wall Street that oil and gas prices go up like a rocket and then go down like a feather. So we may have elevated fuel prices for a while, which could negatively affect the city budget. So I just think we keep an eye on that. Unfortunately, you know, the United States has adequate oil and especially natural gas, but the price of oil and gas is determined on the world market, and then for regional people who buy it and sell it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, for the mayor's report, I would like to begin by thanking our staff for the warm welcome and for making me feel at home during this transition. I also appreciate the support in getting connected and oriented with the boards I now serve on, so thank you very much. We have truly been able to hit the ground running. I've been making my rounds, connecting with employees and council members and other elected officials, and engaging in meaningful conversations about the future. So all in all, it's been a pretty great couple weeks, and I'm looking forward to a lot more. So with that, we will take public comment. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less, and this is general public comment. So if you're here specifically for the comp plan, there will be a time in just a little bit to do that. Thank you much. Okay. And please note that if we do not respond back, we are taking in everything that you say, and we will respond in a different way. But I'm going to call Chester up. Come on up, Chester.
Why don't you have my hip boots on with all this shit by these people over here about the Skagit River? And you asked some good questions up there. You did. But there's some questions they didn't answer for you. They didn't answer the questions I want to talk to. Why don't you guys let the public out here, when those people are here trying to get money or do whatever, have them ask the questions, not so much you guys. I mean, sometimes you do ask the right questions, but a lot of times you don't. But you had a lot of good questions, but they didn't answer them to you. I mean, you can dredge this damn river. I mean, this river's getting worse. I don't care what anybody says. I've been in this town 65 years. I've seen this river flood so bad, make your head spin. You guys anybody heard about the Fur Island dike that blew out back in '89? I was on that dike when it blew out the second time, dumping rocks on it. So don't tell me you can't dredge this. What made those dikes in the first place? When they dredged this river. And it won't hurt the fish. I mean, they used to do it right down here by the bridge down here. There used to be a sausage job down there. Skagit Ready Mix, when they was in town here, hauled their rock from down that river, right beside the river, a bridge down here. You can do the same thing. Dredge this damn river and save people's lives. Because, I mean, people are losing their homes upriver, but nobody cares. And there hasn't been some people killed on this river. There in Burlington, a few years back, because it had flooded in. Guy lost his life hauling rock to save that fucking Burlington, excuse my language, to save that Burlington over there. But they didn't give a shit about this town or Lyman. Lyman's lost, people's up there, Lyman's lost property up there. But nobody wants to help them out. Of course, they wouldn't do nothing, the county wouldn't do nothing, but they lost their land. And Hamilton goes underwater every year. If it floods, it goes up. So the people, good people, go up there and help them out. Rebuild, do the whole town of Lyman, Hamilton up there. They were, at one time, they was going to move town of Hamilton across the river, road there, highway. But they didn't, there's people in Hamilton didn't want to do that. I mean, concrete goes underwater. A lot of that concrete up there goes underwater. I mean, you guys they got to do something. I mean, they give a bunch of excuses why they can't. They always do. I mean, the Indians, environmentalists, tree huggers, they don't want nothing done. They just soon have somebody die on this river. There has been people die on this river. So you guys will keep getting people killed in here? I mean, something's got to be done. Dredge this river. That's the first thing you got to do is dredge this river to save somebody's life. I mean, my 3 minutes about up. I mean, there's another deal, nice lady over here I talked to before I walked in. About the semis coming off the Highway 9 over here, speeding all the time. They're Canadians. Call the DOT, call the State Patrol, because these cops will not do nothing. That's too much work for these guys.
Well, thank you, Chester. Your time is up.
No problem.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I like to not answer it, what's gonna do, but you guys won't say nothing, but
Oh.
normal.
Okay, so I'm going to go online now to see if there's anyone who wants to do just general public comments. And I do see one hand up, Mr. Fatizzi. Go ahead. Woody, is that all right?
Yeah, he's been unmuted, Joe. We are unable to hear you if you are trying to speak.
Maybe we can come back to him. I actually have someone in here who would like to speak, so we'll give him a minute to try and get his together. And go ahead.
I live on West Woodworth, and I don't want to say my name or address for repercussions of what can happen after you speak up about problems in the neighborhood. There's a power substation over there that is totally overgrown around the edges to hide it. Well, some homeless person made a camp in there with pallets, and has never really been a problem, but now kids are hanging out in there, and it's filling up with garbage and condoms and stuff like that in there, so it's not getting to be a good area. I took a couple of pallets, stacked them outside by the gate, so maybe the power company would see them and do something about them. Well, this group of 6 kids, boys, come over there with their electric bicycles, which are actually motorcycles with knobby tires on them. A couple of them had them, and a kid just sat there and busted up the pallets, and I asked him if he was going to take those with him. He said, nope, and they proceeded to call me names, flip me off, real nice kids. And they don't live around here, around my area, and they're riding their electric motorcycles down the railroad property. They're doing over 30 miles an hour on that. Then they go over by the library, put the front brake on, spin the back tires, and making holes. Well, nobody should even be on that railroad property. It's an easement. It's a railroad easement, and it's not city's property, but the city thinks they can do whatever they want there, putting rocks in and grass and tearing the tracks out. Now, you've encouraged people to be using it. Somebody has to pay for the accident that's going to happen on that and have insurance on it. I don't know if the city has insurance, but people are going to fall in those holes they're making, trip, break an ankle, or whatever. It's going to be the underlying property owners adjacent to it who's going to get the bills for this stuff. And I'm telling you, you need to get after these kids with these electric motorcycles and bicycles. They're running rampant around the town. It's getting really ridiculous. And I don't know what the chief can do about it. I did call the police. They talked to one kid who sat there smart-mouthing. You don't have no trespassing signs up. Well, I had no trespassing signs up. The city took them out 4 times. It's not your property to take them out. It's up to the railroad. So anyway, I wish something could be done about these kids riding these things on the sidewalks and streets and everything else, and they're flying. They don't have an engine, so they don't make noise. Somebody's going to get hit by them and seriously hurt. You need to make some ordinances about this. And I'm sure they're tearing up the trails, because a friend rides his bike on the trails. He says, yeah, you can see where they've taken off on them up the trails now, which shouldn't be happening. They don't have pedals on them. They're not bicycles. They're motorcycles. They should have to be 16 or have an endorsement or driver's license or something to even be out there on the road with these things. Thank you.
Thank you. And if there is anyone else in here, okay.
Do I get to speak?
Let's go back to Joe Fatizzi, since we can hear him now. Go ahead, Joe.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
So the first thing I want to say is thank you. That we don't hear that enough of how hard work we all put in. But I also want to say thank you so much for the fact that people have heard me on the fact that I've been talking about this for quite some time, that I'm the biggest advocate on public safety, and the fact that the river is a beast in its own kind of thing. God, it's gorgeous, it's amazing. But at the end of the day, it'll do its own thing. But the fact that every conversation I heard earlier today, it's like we accept the fact that, yeah, we need to deal with the fact that the river is going to do its kind of thing. But the most important thing is public safety. And you know what? I heard nothing but positive, all positive. Right now, I'm just sitting back, feeling so proud of the fact that we all get the message of how not only important is our river, but how important public safety is. So, thank you. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Anyway, and we have a comprehensive plan approval coming up, I believe. So, anyway, whole lot of work went into this city. Yeah, you bet.
Thank you, Joe. All right, we have one more who'd like to speak in our chambers here. Did you, Tina? Yep, if the blue light's on, make sure it's on.
Yep. Tina Champeau. I live at 1641 State Route 9, Sedro-Woolley. First of all, I'd like to thank you for getting the railroad crossing fixed between 9 and 20 because that was really a pain. And kudos to you for working with Senator Wagner because he knew some people at the railroad to get this done. So that was really appreciated. I just wanted to, because this does affect Sedro-Woolley, I live 9 miles north of Sedro on 9. That highway is so dangerous, it's unbelievable because there's no enforcement. And with the closure of I-5, it was even worse, but on a normal day, without that, it's really bad. And we've got these big trucks coming down, they don't obey us. It's a 50-mile-an-hour scenic highway, and I have people going, I know 100. Because I live so far up, there is no enforcement. So when Wagner was mayor, he did something. One night I went home and it was actually peaceful. There was nothing on the highway, and I thought, what happened? So I called him up and I said, what was going on here that night? He said, well, I posted one of our police officers at the end of 9, and when that happened, the trucks quit because they try to avoid the way station. And so he said to me, I've always been sorry that I didn't do a survey to show the results of doing that. So I just wanted to bring that up. So basically, that's all I have to say. But I'd like to ask a question too. When you come down 9 going south, before you get to the roundabout, there's a project over on the east side. What is that?
We don't typically answer questions
Okay.
up at this, but I can get someone to give you that information.
That would be good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. All right, so that'll close public comment then, and we will move straight into public hearings. Tom?
Oops, it's a little crowded over here. Hang on. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So tonight we're presenting to you the latest version of the comprehensive plan, which has been in your packet here. We also have in your packet a brief staff report summarizing what we're doing here, notice of the public hearing for tonight's meeting, and I'll get to that in a minute, and then the findings of fact and recommendation from the Planning Commission that they issued in January. It's been in your packet now a couple times. I just wanted to make sure the record was all in there. And then we also have the comment analysis that staff has been working with the consultants on, where we identified the comments that came in during the 60-day review period and our response or action taken. We did change the title up there. I don't know why it said MOA between DOE and DOI to establish the Manhattan Project and HP, but I don't know what that was, so we changed that, of course. So ignore that part. What I want to do tonight, because our comp plan has changed so much since we had our last public hearing in December, in consultation with our attorney and staff and our consulting team, we decided, yeah, we probably should have a second public hearing on this just to make sure that we do our diligence, cross our Ts and dot our Is, and hold the second public hearing to be sure if there are any additional comments from the public that we can take those tonight. So two parts. One, we'd like to hold the public hearing and then afterwards close the public hearing and then open it up for discussion with council. Ask us questions, request clarifications, any of that. And then I would ask that we could please take a look at the ordinance, and staff would recommend adopting the ordinance if you're comfortable with that. I mentioned this to Mayor Kesty earlier. If through our discussion there are additional things that we want to change and they're minor enough, we could include those in a motion to adopt. So motion move to approve comprehensive plan, or excuse me, or the ordinance, whatever the number is there, along with the changes that we identified and deemed necessary. So with that, what we'd like to do is turn it back to you to open a public hearing and take comments from the public on this.
Perfect. So it's 7:21, and we will open a public hearing for the comprehensive plan. And at this time, I did not see anyone write down that they wanted to give public comment, so I'm just going to give a second opportunity. If anyone in the council chambers would like to give public comment, and seeing nobody, oh, okay, one person would like to come give comment.
Yeah, I live on Woodworth, and I have not seen the comprehensive plan. Is that for the, for adding housing and all this stuff and zoning? Is that what that has to do with? You can't answer?
Yeah, the city's required to update its 20-year comprehensive plan every 10 years or so, and so that is what this is. And it does, yeah, it contains information concerning what we expect for housing, land use, transportation, all of the things.
Well, I've seen where I live, it's kind of cut out around me where I'm not in the exact downtown business district, me and my neighbor's property. And I was kind of curious about that. What's that going to do to me in the future? And then the railroad property, it's supposed to be a live track still by the Surface Transportation Board of Commerce. So that is industrial. And you have it listed as downtown business district, I believe, and it's confusing, and I'm wondering how you can change that when the railroad could put tracks back in there. Not that they will, because the city wouldn't even want that. No one would want that cars parked there right by the library and the schools and stuff. I'm sure it'll never happen, and it needs to be taken off this railroad list. But so I'm just curious what's going to go on there. If it's downtown business district, you're talking about putting in a railroad park, and whose property is this park going on? You say it's railroad only has easements in the plat of Woolley, and you've done so much on there, and even tried to have me arrested on this property, I guess, but they never specified where I was being trespassed from. And but it needs to be addressed, and people know what's going on with this railroad property, even the trail properties that going up to, east. The people own that property, and you've just taken it over as a trail. So, and you need to pay for that. It's even in the paperwork I saw about that if you do build this trail, you have to pay for it. County had to. So anyway, it needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and we will also go online now if there is anyone with their hand up for public comment. Not seeing any. Unless, Woody, you see someone that I don't see.
I do not see anybody remotely with their hands raised.
Okay, then it is 7:24, and I will close a public comment for the hearing.
Very good, thank you. Now what I'd like to do is open it up to comments and questions from council.
Okay, and I see Councilmember Lavaca.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I have three things that I just really want to cover right now. The disclaimer that Mayor Custy had put in, where is that in here?
It's
am I
on
missing
page, it's on page 2. Let me get to
Page 2 right there. Okay. Want to make sure I read that correctly. There was a rating that we gave the roads, and Bill, maybe you can answer this. We rated all the roads, and so John Liner and Gargile and 9 intersection, that's still rated as an E. Should that improve?
Okay, so, sorry, I was going to ask you what rating you were talking about. So there's a couple different ratings. You're talking about level of service rating.
Yeah, level of
Yes,
service rating. Because we put in the roundabout, it seems like it's
Correct.
flowing good now. So
Right.
I think we brought that down to like a D or C, right?
We brought the,
Or up, I
probably
should
down
say.
to a C is what I would guess.
Do we want to update that in the plan? since
Yes,
we're
we
at that
will.
point? All right. The other point is, go ahead, sorry.
That was one I had mentioned during, I think, our first hearing where we actually completed a project between starting the plan and finishing the plan. So I need to correct that.
That would be one of the other things that I'd like to see. There's, in the beginning of the plan, there is a mayoral statement, and I think that we probably could have the current mayor make that statement, since this is going to be a plan that they're going to be signing. So I don't know if you would be willing to do that in the front of the comprehensive plan.
Oh, absolutely. If that should be the way you guys choose to go, I could absolutely do that.
Yeah, it makes sense, because if you're signing the plan, then you would also be able to make that forward statement. On the plan, I requested to have the cost of the climate element added in. Can you tell me which page that's on?
I don't have that information yet. We're still working on that part. So I did put in the plan, though, the amount of the award for it, but we don't know what that's going to be until that closes out.
Okay, but we were voting on the plan? We're approving the plan? We can't put something in there right now?
Yeah, I'm sorry? Yes, we are voting. I'm asking if you guys would be willing to vote on it, yes.
Okay, I want to see that in there, up to date, like what we've spent so far. We had an email exchange, and you emailed me, you added in Aston and Nicole on that email exchange, and you had a long reason of why we can't update the entire plan with all of the finances and everything, but that's not what I was asking. I was just asking to see just the climate element at the bottom where it says climate element. At the top section of the plan where we're giving the acknowledgements, there is a statement in there. That's the only statement that's giving it. Let me go all the way up there. And it's actually got a typo in it where it's saying that the WMA contributed $500,000 towards the towards the plan, and part of that was used for that. Let me get up there. It's page III, if you want to know. So page III,
Yeah,
and it's
there was
underneath
fun.
the Washington State Department of Commerce.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, the climate element and associated sub-elements were specifically funded by a 500, then I think it's a comma 00, maybe it should be a 000 for $500,000
Oh, yeah,
grant.
good catch, yeah. It's 500,000.
But that's definitely not what I was looking at seeing when I spoke at the council, or when I emailed over, or when I spoke with Charlie about having that added in. So I won't vote for this until I see that added into the climate element, as discussed multiple times during the meeting, so.
Just to make sure you understand, we won't know what the total cost is until that part is completed.
Yeah, that's no reason not to have something in there indicating that for the people who pay for it to know. So as of now, under climate element, it's really easy to say, to date, we received $500,000 for this specific element, and to date, we have spent this much with the projected this much left to spend. We could add that simple sentence. I sent that over to you, Charlie. I think you were going to convey that over. We can add something like that into the plan, I believe.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I'm just trying to tell you that we get invoices each month, so each month that's going to change.
Correct. Yeah, and that's included in there. To date, when we do the plan, if we're voting for it today, I anticipated seeing it in there for this week. This is how much we've spent to date, and then we plan on voting it in. So
So if
I
they
don't,
just,
is there a challenge with adding that in that you're foreseeing?
Well, I'm gonna have to go back through and see how much we've spent to date, but that doesn't include invoices that we haven't received yet for work that's been done.
Yeah, so we got $500,000 for this element, and we've spent so far to date with anticipated cost increases as we go. So it's like a 2-sentence to that element.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't know what number to put in.
Okay, just, so we had a
That could
public
change
meeting,
next
we had a
week.
meeting in here, guys, where we authorized, at the time it was 246,000 that had been spent so far. And then we were anticipating adding in 50,000 more, that they needed, and then also back pay for 127, I believe, for a total of $402,000 to develop the climate plan with possible anticipated other costs. So we had that cost at a meeting, and we were able to discuss it, to see that cost. That's the statement I'm wanting to see inside the comprehensive plan, just so
So-
that we see how much that is for this.
just to be clear, if they were to add that in there, then that's what you would feel comfortable with?
Yep.
So that addition of the, at the previous meeting, what that was going towards this particular issue, if we add that in, and then with the exception that obviously there's going to be unadded monies, but that's how much we've done to date?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
As of the date of as of date of adoption.
As of date of adoption. I think that would be helpful for people to see that their taxpayer money went to buy this climate element of the comprehensive plan. And it seemed really easy when I first saw that, and I was like, yeah, I would want to know. I would want to know how much this new element that Olympia is requiring us to have. But it's gotten so complicated just to have that in there that I don't understand how it's gotten complicated. They gave us 500,000. We could definitely put that in there, not a little footnote up in the acknowledgements. Yeah, that's like kind of up there in the plan, and there's a little bit of a spell check, and it doesn't really say climate. It kind of goes into other parts as well. In the climate element, I would want that to be noted, like this element's, costing so much. It seemed like a simple sentence. I don't know, Charlie, maybe you can feed in on that. I saw it in the email.
Yeah, I don't recall the email, but I do recall a conversation that we had,
send
and
it
Tom
over
and I
to
have had several conversations as well. I think we can definitely work something in here as of adoption. We'll just need to insert the number in.
Yeah.
We don't have the number tonight.
With what you were already saying with the monies, in that one meeting, do you happen to remember? We could just go back and watch it and add that to it if that's,
Okay. Yeah, we can
Okay.
definitely do that. I'll get
So-
that over to you for what we have in the meeting. And we can go word for word, because it was Facet that was actually having that addition. We were voting on allowing them to use more money, and then with projected more money. So back pay bills.
so for right now, though, it would be a blank, because we have to pull that up, and then you'd feel okay with it?
I sure would.
All right.
The motion that and pass it. Do we need to?
I don't know if they need.
Yeah,
a motion.
we may need to motion to get that added in, just because it's, we've had a challenge with getting things through the planning without making the motion.
Do you want to do them individually, or do you want to wait till the end like he had
How do
suggested?
you guys feel about it? Do you think we can get that in without making a motion to have it added in, or is
Yeah.
that something?
And just so that you're aware, it won't be the final cost. It'll be just as of tonight,
Yep.
what has been spent to date. So in a few months, that number, of course, will be no longer true, but
We could just add that
And
phrase
that
with more
statement would be in there too. The cost could and potentially will be going up
up to 500,000.
up to 500,000. Yep, that would be added in the wording.
Okay.
And I'll get that email over to you. I'm not seeing very good email access right now.
All right. I'm going to, is there no further questions with that then? I'll move over to another council member. Okay, Councilmember Peterson?
I think the majority of council wants to see that change. I just wanted to say that I don't think it's a good idea because the numbers are going to be inaccurate and misleading for
That's
readers of the
where I'm
plan.
getting hung up with, because that's going to be inaccurate as soon as we get the next invoice.
Would you like to take a vote then? Someone make a motion?
I'd like to
Or-
make a motion to have the cost of the element, climate element added into the climate element for what we spent to date, including that we received a $500,000 grant to develop that element. Specifically, those words. The city of Sedro-Woolley received, along with other cities, $500,000 to add in this climate element to our comprehensive plan. Of that $500,000, we have spent so much to date with plans of spending potentially the rest of it.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second that. That clears it up a little bit.
I have a comment.
Okay. Any discussion?
Personally, I don't see the point of putting money on the climate. If you're going to put it on climate, put it on everything else and say how much each of the components occurred. The climate element was passed by the legislature, which was the will of the people. They voted for it. So again, this is a situation where we're saying, well, we don't agree with Olympia. Well, that's fine, but I personally agree with the climate element. If you want to put in language and you're not sure about the number, just say that we received a $500,000 grant, and that solves it. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam
So
Mayor?
I do have a,
If I may, and I do appreciate where you're coming from with that, Councilman Cock. I don't feel that we should ever hide any of our money that the taxpayer is paying. So that's why I would like to see that added in. I don't think it's a slam on Olympia or people, but it is money we've spent, and it's a new element. So we could add it in for other elements, but we'd have to go back to when that was added in from the GMA. Since this is a new element and it's the first time we're adding that, that's what the person's seeing. I purchased this with the money that we got for taxpayers. So.
I do have a first and second. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Opposed.
Opposed.
Okay. So Councilman Lloyd, were you?
Opposed.
You're opposed? Okay. So the motion fails. Oh. I didn't hear you, Councilmember DeYoung. Could you speak up? Try again. Oh, let me check this. Is he able to leave any comments in the comment section?
He's on the phone, I think, so.
Oh.
Not on the computer.
All right, well, then, Charlie?
I think then it's.
Copy. Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you.
Hello?
Hallelujah. What's your pleasure, sir?
Technology. Yes, I voted to support the motion.
Okay, so,
It's
We-
3-3, Madam Mayor, so you would break the tie.
all right. Hearing as it's very important, I'm going to go ahead and vote in favor. So we'll add that to it. Easy peasy, move on. Okay.
Madam Mayor, I included you on the email that I had sent in to them originally on, so you'll have that as well, and that was on 4/6. And that
Okay,
was
4/6.
Yep,
We will take a look.
thank you.
We'll add that into the date, and we will put it in there and move forward. Okay.
Okay, so that was a motion to. Excuse me, that was a motion to, could you repeat it, just make sure I'm.
So that was a very long motion. Nick, I did
No
not.
problem. That was a motion to add in language concerning the $500,000 grant.
Okay, thank you, good, I just want to make sure. So then, there is then a request to approve ordinance 2115-26, which would adopt the comprehensive plan with the changes that we had discussed.
Correct. So is there any more discussion on comprehensive plan
Madam Mayor?
update?
Yeah.
Councilmember Henderson?
Real quick, I noticed on acknowledgements that Councilman DeYoung wasn't listed as one of the council members on this.
We'll make sure we add that in.
Okay, and then did you, Councilman Lavaca, did you cover, I know there was a discussion about this before, about the mayor's message and having Mayor Kesty add a message to the thing too, because moving forward, you did that, okay.
Yeah. Do we need to make a motion on that? Maybe we need to make a motion on that?
I'm a
or
little
can she
unclear,
just-
so you're wanting, in it, I mean, we can add Mayor Kesty's message to,
Oh, it would replace the message. You'd only have one mayoral message, but it should be by the person signing the document, I would imagine.
yeah, my thought would be that a former mayor was involved in the plan all the way through.
Oh, yeah, there would be acknowledgement for that in there. I think she's in the acknowledgement, isn't she? But we're a little late on the passing of it too. I think that we missed some meetings so that we could have gotten it passed in that previous year. So it would make sense. I don't know, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm on, okay.
'Cause Mayor Kesty now, who is councilwoman, was followed the entire process as well.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I don't know, it's just.
Well, you know, I think probably as an addition to would also be, you know, a good option. Because everyone who has been involved, at least all the electeds I see on here, the only one that's missing is Councilman DeYoung. But as far as the message, I think the mayor signing the document should also be granted the opportunity to put a mayor's message in there too, because that's who we're moving forward with.
It might be confusing to see a mayor message from a different mayor
It could
with
be.
a signature.
We
on it.
can show the years next to the mayor's messages, so that people reading it would understand it started with this mayor and it was signed by.
Why don't I
the other
make a
mayor.
motion to have our current mayor make the mayor's message in the comprehensive plan? And then we can always give, in the acknowledgements also, mayors, and it could add in Julie from such and time, and then possibly Julia from such and time, and possibly Kesty from such and time. So I'll make a motion right now for our current mayor to make the mayor's message in the comp plan that the mayor would be signing.
I'll second that.
Okay. Discussion?
So this would be a completely different message from Mayor Kesty, right? They wouldn't use the same language.
I'm confused.
Good. I don't know.
Because that would be Mayor Johnson's language, it seems.
Yeah, it would be a completely different message. She would write in her message as far as mayor's message. It could be similar, but I would imagine she would write in what she feels throughout the city and throughout her process on the plan. Don't mean to put you on the spot. Kesty, if you don't want it, that's fine, but it just makes sense to me, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
If we're discussing, I would say have one or the other. They're probably two completely different directions, so you guys can choose whichever you'd like, and I will follow suit with however you'd like to proceed.
I would prefer just one, the mayor that's signing, and that's the motion that I've made, and that was
Okay.
seconded.
So we have a first and a second to make, oh, do we have Council Member DeYoung, go ahead.
Oh, do I have my hand still raised? It should be
Yes.
lowered. Okay, it should be lowered. It was for the previous. I was
Okay.
trying to gather people's attention about where I was at on the previous motion. But I'm ready to take a vote when the rest of the council is.
Okay, so all in favor of having the current mayor write the statement, say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign?
Opposed.
Okay, so the motion passes. I will make a letter in the comp plan, and we'll move forward with that. Okay.
So that motion, and then there's the motion regarding the ordinance.
So is there any more discussion on the comp plan? And if there is not, then I would be looking for a motion to approve ordinance 2115-26, the 2025-2045 comprehensive plan. If,
I motion to approve it.
I'll second.
okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Koch, seconded by Councilmember Henderson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. You have your comp plan.
Oops, thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much for all your hard work on this.
Thank you.
And I'm glad to see it come to fruition. All right, let's see here. Now moving on to the resolution master salary schedule. Kelly?
Good evening, Council and Mayor. The city has our mastery salary schedule, including all AFSCME staff, AFSCME union staff, and non-represented in one salary schedule. We then break it off and have just the non-rep schedule. So in the packet, you'll see two schedules that look very similar. They have the same data, except for one just has non-represented staff on there. We have a proposal in front of you to amend the master salary schedule to add an associate planner position. So we would activate that position one grade higher than the assistant planner position, and then deactivate the assistant planner position. This would have no increase in our full-time equivalent count, so no change in head count. And then in a moment, I'll let Tom talk further about the position, but also wanted to take this opportunity to address an error in the current master salary schedule regarding seasonal employees. We had previously increased the seasonal employees range in the salary schedule, but it didn't correlate with the collective bargaining agreement, and that trumps the salary schedule. So wanted to make that correction. One of the changes we did make will stand for seasonal. We will need to increase it to the current minimum wage. So the collective bargaining agreement says $16.28 to $22 an hour. The final version will have $17.13 to $22 an hour. And I'll let Tom address the position.
Great, thank you, Kelly. Mayor and council, so as you know, we have a person in the position of assistant planner. That's an entry-level position, and that is Ashton Sandoval Oaks, who is here this evening. In the 2 years that Ashton's been here, he's earned his certification, AICP certification in planning. He's added 2 years of experience in work, which counts for a great deal. He's no longer at entry-level work. He's performing higher level work with greater autonomy and detail, and he certainly needs to be, I think, challenged or recognized, for his challenging work in this sort of next level that he's been doing. So I think he's doing great. He's earned this title and this position, and he's come to be somebody that we rely on for customer service, and like I said, more detail, more involved work, and with greater autonomy. So,
Okay. With that, do we have any questions or comments? Councilmember Koch?
Is the position Ashton vacating going to be filled? Because that would imply
No.
an additional FTE.
yeah, no.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you. Can we go over structurally, because there's a lot of different things that say planner on here. There's Salary grade 122, 123, 125, and 128. So do we have a senior planner?
There is a job description for senior planner. Generally, how it goes is assistant planner to associate planner to senior planner. Some organizations I've worked in also have a principal planner above that, but those were larger organizations. I don't anticipate that happening. Yeah, so we have, right now we have an assistant planner and a planner. The planner is the supervisor for the assistant planner, and that wouldn't change. Right now, we're looking at moving assistant planner to associate and then not backfilling the assistant planner position.
And just to comment on the structure of the grid, things that are in blue are positions that we are deactivated. So someday in the future, if we ever wanted to activate one of those positions, we would know where it was placed in the grid so that we could come to council with a proposal for that, and already know the potential financial impacts, where they would fit among the other positions activated in the grid. So some of those other items, like senior planner, are blue, which they are deactivated. They're just placeholders.
Okay. Does anybody else want to ask?
Well, I was going to go to
Okay.
Councilmember Peterson, and then I'll come back.
First, I'd like to congratulate Ashton on your AICP certification. This is a professional certification. I don't know, it's kind of like a CPA license. You have to have your education, your experience, and you have a big test. A lot of people don't pass the test. I think it's really important, especially for our planning staff, to have the professional training and professional development opportunities that come with participation in the American Planning Association. They have a really good code of ethics that I think is really important, especially in small towns. So congratulations, that's really great to hear. And I think that this change to the associate planner would be well-deserved, considering that certification.
Did you want to go again, Council?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, like she said, that's is a big deal. So, congratulations for doing that, and you know that's much benefit to the city. You know, continuing education and furthering yourself, that's always best. I'd like to go back to talking about money, though, which is unfortunately what we always have to talk about. So there's a budget amendment proposed to offset this. Is this because there's not enough money in the budget to offset the salary difference?
We have a planned budget amendment, so we would include this in our salary projection and any update to the 2026 budget. There is no specific, we don't need to do a budget amendment specifically for this change.
For the cost of the change, but
in combination with a variety of other items, we will be bringing a budget amendment to council middle of May.
in order to pay him more, do you need to increase the planning department's budget
Yes.
by $10,000?
Probably not that exact dollar amount. That's a rough estimate, but approximately.
I mean, I'm more of the position that you know, it kind of makes it difficult because this isn't a position we previously had until, you know, recently at the beginning of the comp plan, right? So, and then, you know, it was started in one manner, and then it was adopted into our last biennial budget. It kind of pains me because when, you know, when people do good things, you promote them, right? You don't create positions, but you would, if he's a credentialed planner, he'd get promoted to that salary grade. But in order to do that, you need to increase your budget, right? So, I mean, these two salary grades, they're very close together. I mean, we're not talking a difference of $10,000 per year. We're talking a difference of at step 9, or I'm just using step 9 because it's nice round numbers, but we're talking $4,000 per year. So, yeah, I'm kind of a little bit.
One thing I will add is if we could think of everything,
right,
you know, right when we initiated the salary schedule a couple of years ago, we probably should have put a placeholder for associate planner the same way that we put a placeholder for senior planner. You know, can't think of everything, so that's why you know, sometimes things come up. So just wanted to give that context as well, that, you know, if we could start from the beginning, we probably would put some more placeholders in the salary schedule.
But they're unbudgeted placeholders, right? Like, I mean, this almost gets to the point where it needs to be an executive session discussion in my mind, because we're talking about one specific employee, right? I can't imagine after being here for 2 years that somebody would be topped out on the salary schedule at step 9, right?
It depends on where they came in,
Okay, so
but it's unlikely.
So like promoting from within, right, or promotion-wise, that doesn't work very well in a collective bargaining unit, but it does outside of a collective bargaining unit.
I would say, and Tom, please correct me, I would say this situation is similar to like wastewater, how there are multiple levels in wastewater, and that we don't, and Bill can probably correct me too, like, you know, you start out as a 1 and then you get the certifications to become a 2. We don't open up a 2 position and have people apply for that. It's just when that person has met that qualification, they move up to that higher class. And then at some point there's a ceiling to that, right? Like a wastewater lead, that is a position that you don't just automatically promote to, that, you know, that goes through the hiring process. We didn't envision, we didn't put that specifically into place previously when we were creating this, but it's a similar idea that that staff should naturally progress. And it's a shorter progression for this area, but I'll let others address that further if needed.
Yeah, I think Kelly covered it a little bit earlier, but the grid, we have career ladders for different professions. And so that's essentially what you're seeing there. The planned positions are parts of the career ladder. The blue ones are ones that are not occupied. The black ones are ones that are. And the green one, in this case, is the one that's proposed. But it's all a part of a career ladder so that we can hire staff in. If we hire them at the entry level, they have the ability to move their way up. And I wanted to add one last thing, and that is we do have in our personnel policy manual, we have a reclassification process that we go through. It starts with the employee and their supervisor submitting it to HR. HR reviews it, and then I give it the final review. But essentially, they're looking at job duties, what's in the job description, what the person's actually doing. And in this particular case, determine that their duties were outside of their classification to some extent, which is why the recommendation for the elevated position.
I mean, I'm not opposed to adding the placeholder in, this position as a placeholder. I mean, we got placeholders everywhere. It's nice to have because then it leaves you with options, especially if, you know, you need to hire new staff on and stuff like that. And you need to hire somebody on at a different place than somebody else was, right? Like, how we, you know, we still have a placeholder for like an HR analyst, even though, you know, we don't have one, but it's something that's there, right? I'm just more of the mindset, I guess, that, you know, if somebody does the work, they get credentialed. I mean, we're not that far off from our next budget, right? From our next biennial budget. So, like, I'm more of the mindset to just promote the employee within the step range that they're currently in, or put them, you know, a little bit above in that associate planner spot to where, you know, they're seeing an increase of pay as, you know, as a ladder rung for, you know, furthering their, you know, career and their credentials, right? But then in the next budget season, build into your budget to where if he's a credentialed planner, then he should be on the planner pay scale at 125, right? I wouldn't expect somebody that got their engineering degree to not be at that, you know, engineer pay level also. But I don't know. I'm kind of starting to talk in circles now because I'm trying to figure it all out because it's new to me.
Can I move on to
Yeah,
some others and come back
absolutely.
to you? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go to Councilmember Cock.
Yeah, just a few thoughts. You know, Sedro-Woolley is growing rapidly. I've lived here for over 30 years, and I think this is the fastest I've seen it growing with new businesses and new houses and new developments. So we need a robust and highly professional planning department, which I think we have, but you also need to retain good staff. I don't know how many times as a newspaper editor I lost terrific people because they got all the awards and then they moved on. And the other issue that I wanted to bring up, so I'm all in favor of this. I think somebody like Ashton, who's got the credentials, got the 2 years, and we do want to retain our best employees, absolutely. I will also tend to agree with Councilman Henderson that, you know, talking about one employee in public session seems awkward to me, especially with Ashton sitting there. I think it would have been better served in executive session and then come out and vote on it. So it's just too awkward.
Just a comment, we can only go into executive session for specific purposes. One of those purposes being evaluating the performance of a public employee, which is not what we're doing here today. We are not evaluating his performance. This topic could not be discussed in executive session.
Okay, well, that's clarification.
Can I ask a question? It doesn't seem like anybody has any qualms about qualifications, I guess, but is it the money? And if so, Kelly, the 10 grand is a maximum. Does that how does that fit into our budget? How do I say this? It doesn't break our budget, or it doesn't? Do we have the money?
Yes, and we are bringing a budget amendment, so there's other things in that budget amendment, so I don't want to address that too specifically without bringing the budget amendment, but this is not a significant portion of the full
Okay, thanks.
general
And then
fund budget.
Councilman Cock, thank you for making those comments there. You know, retaining good employees is, I think, very valuable to an organization and helps build credit with the organization itself. If we are able to reward our employees who are working hard, who are going above and beyond the duty of their job description, that's remarkable. And you don't see that everywhere, you know. If they are doing that, that means they're happy to be here, wanting to be here, wanting to do that work. I think that is and they're doing that work and with confidence and competence. I think it's a credit to the organization itself that we're supporting that person to be able to do those things, and that's a credit to the organization.
I'm going to go ahead and go to Councilmember Lavaca.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am picking up what Councilman Henderson's putting down, I believe, and also what Councilman Cock has put down too, a little bit on that end. That I'm not entirely sure I see the difference on the two. It seems like the only reason to do this is possibly maxed out on the assistant planner, and then moving to the associate planner. And that would be the increase there, maybe. Otherwise, we can just continue to move up on that scale. And we should, it does get complicated with so many different positions for a small department, fairly. And I almost think that the assistant planner gets to a point where they become a planner. And I do see where you got that intermediate, because it is a pretty good jump. But there was increases this year for the planning staff, as there is with everybody that was employed by the city. And so it didn't sound like it was in the budget, which is why it would make it to the amendment. And then also it didn't sound like it at first that the city had that 10,000 in that planning department. And so that would be added to the amendment as well. And so I would be inclined to think we wait until the next time the employees are up for that increase to look at how they jump up down that, or down the line or up the line, how that works out, versus mid-range say, okay, well, you got this cert, so now we're going to go to here. We can do that throughout, back and forth with the entire salary schedule, and it could start to get complicated. So I like more structure myself, and I believe that's where Councilman Henderson's talking about, and also understanding what that full impact of the amendment, the financial amendment's going to be, the budget amendment, and what that looks like before making that decision.
Just a point of clarity regarding that. We don't give people step increases outside of their, for represented staff, it's on their anniversary of hire or promotion, full-time. And then for non-represented staff, people get step increases. All non-represented staff get step increase at the same time at the beginning of the year. So, I can't remember which council member mentioned this, like getting a step increase mid-year. We don't do that generally. And a lot of what non-represented staff get is, although not directly governed by the AFSCME contract, kind of falls in line with the AFSCME collective bargaining agreement. So the move from one position up to another, like similarly like we were talking about in wastewater, those types of things. When someone gets promoted, the AFSCME contract outlines a percentage increase. And I can't remember if it's 5 or 10% when you get promoted. You go up a grade that is at least equivalent to 10% increase. So that's something else to consider. That another note, sorry if I'm talking too much, but we budget salaries like for specific employees. Like we budget our salaries like as accurate as we think possible. So if this is passed along with the change in public works that was passed by council at the last meeting, both those things are going to be presented in budget amendments. We didn't previously have those scheduled in. We don't give our payroll budgets that much of a buffer. They're as close to what we actually believe they're going to be as possible.
Thank you very much. So I'm just gonna repeat that one more time, that I'm inclined to just stay with what we currently have, and we can discuss like the increase in the budget proposal and the amendment, and then at the beginning of the year. And I think it's awesome that you got the certificate, and I would always admire that and always strive to achieve that. But, you know, just in my working experience in life, I've seen people achieve a certificate and they can bring that back in and say, hey, I'm at this point at this year increase and looking for a promotion, or maybe jump 2 steps at that time, but stay within that line until we move to the next. We're going to create a position. And then having that placeholder, I do agree, maybe it does make sense, but, you know, I would wait till we have at least the budget discussion, if you're asking me, and then move along that line that we have, unless we're maxed out at the 9 at this point, and that's the only reason why we're looking at moving forward. You know, if there was an increase, a couple months ago, right? Beginning of the year. Is that correct? When was the last increase on that stuff?
Everyone received, the whole grid went up at the beginning of the year.
At the beginning of the year, and
Yeah,
we're in
not really
April.
talking about specific dollar amounts, but more like the position itself.
Yeah. And so that would be the reason to increase the budget for to the staff, to the department, and then add in this new one as well, I would imagine. Okay. So that's.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and go to Councilwoman Peterson.
Thank you. I had a question about the job duties. Not that the budget piece isn't important, but I think Alan or Council Member Henderson had mentioned this position working on the comp plan and things like that, and the need for that. And then if we're seeing this position needed to get that work done, I don't see that stopping. You know, we just approved the comprehensive plan, but the next step is updating all of our regulations and everything like that. And I assume it's kind of looking at the job duties, it looks like those job duties are still going to be required for the remainder of this year. Hopefully we'll be able to get those updates done in 2026.
Yeah, it's not just comp plan related work that our staff, including Ashton, works on. It's all the stuff we do, and development review, subdivision review, plat reviews. You know, we're making a list also of the development regulations that we're going to be having to update. We're hoping to do most of that internally, but it's not just those things. It's all the stuff we do.
Mm-hmm. And so these job duties are going to be required by the city to complete the work.
Yes.
For the planning department in 2026.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and I see your hand up, Ms. Councilmember DeYoung.
Thank you. First off, I want to address Ashton. Congratulations on the fruition of a lot of hard work, and a heartfelt thank you for the service that you're providing for the city of Sedro-Woolley, and know that I personally appreciate it, and I know that your work is reflected within the community. And also, I think on a special note, you should really take to heart what the director has been standing up for you here. And I think you have a place here, and I hope this discussion doesn't scare you away. With that note, I do want to talk in the view of oversight, and not just of a personality, but of a position. And that we are talking about the master's salary schedule, and that this is something that is narrow. It is a targeted position-specific adjustment, and it is also something that's meant for targeted reclassification based on current duties, rather than a broader change in how the process of staff classifications are adjusted. And I just wanted to reiterate what our city administrator put out there. Thank you, Charlie, for the plain explanation that this was a process that was between the supervisor and HR to our own personnel policy manual. Charlie wrote me back a nice response to these questions I had earlier. If you need section 2.14, and then Charlie reviewed it. So it's gone through I would say, a robust review process. And it's just for this, adding this position. And that the budget amendment, which I am very concerned about as well, and echoing the concerns of Councilmember Henderson and Labaka, we will be seeing that before us before Council, as Kelly has brought out, May 13th, and that there'll be a review previous to that by our staff to get to numbers. So what I'm hearing tonight is that we are making a motion to reform our master salary schedule in order to make this position possible as a reclassification, and not talking about a specific person, and that we're not talking about a pay raise tonight. But this is something, the money side will be coming to us based upon senior staff recommendations to us on the 13th. And that's my understanding of this process, and I'm inclined to support it, because I believe this is the right way to do the process. Let's talk about the work that needs to be done. How do we talk about the reclassification structure within a department? And I think it's completely appropriate that they went through this process and then and it was also gone through some rigor, if you will, peer reviewed, as was mentioned in an earlier case. And I think it's something we can move on. I'm in support of this position change, and then we can talk about money in a few weeks. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Councilmember DeYoung. And
He already answered it. Never mind.
okay.
Madam Mayor, this is a first read. Would we be voting tonight? Is that the expectation?
I think they were looking for a motion for tonight. So if anyone is inclined to make that, it's your purview.
I'll make
If
a
we're
motion.
just,
Oh,
sorry. If we're not talking about money tonight, we're just talking about making an adjustment to the master fee, or not the master fee schedule. That'll be later, salary schedule. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with doing that, and then we can figure out the financial discussion will be hashed out in the budget amendment.
Is that your understanding?
This action deactivates the assistant planner position and activates the associate planner position. So council could either accept it as is, which would basically automatically put Ashton in that position, or you can amend it to include the position as deactivated and the assistant position as activated. But that doesn't really do anything.
Yeah. This has a financial impact of $10,000 according to this resolution on the statement. So that's what we would be voting on. So there would be a financial impact.
But we could amend it too. Yeah. And then, so how would we activate the other one if we find the money to change the positions? Would we do that in the budget amendment?
We would bring back the master salary schedule to council.
Would we?
You can't leave them both at, sorry.
Would we just add that position, the associate planner position, as described, but not change the role of the assistant planner right now? That completely stays the same. We're just adding an associate to the master fee schedule or the master salary schedule. And then that allows in time for that discussion to take place and that position to be opened up for that person, whether he applies or whether he's promoted into it, correct? So with that in mind, we shouldn't have a financial impact tonight, and that can be in later discussion, and we wouldn't need to bring the salary.
We would need to bring the salary schedule back to change and this may be a legal question about how detailed we have to be. Generally, what we present to council is the final, like, this is what's approved. So if you approve it tonight with the assistant planner position activated and the associate planner deactivated, that is the council-approved master salary schedule. We would need to bring it back, which we're more than happy to do. We would just need to bring it back to make that change to switch which one is activated and which one is deactivated, which we can do that as well. So, or we could do it all at once, whichever the council would like.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 1182-26, updating the 2026 master salary schedule. Do I have to read the whole thing here?
Well, you'd have to add, yeah,
For
the
AFSCME and non-represented staff and the associated 2026 master salary schedule for non-represented staff.
I'll second.
And just to have clarity, the motion is as reads, no change. All right.
Correct. And so we have a motion by Councilwoman Peterson and seconded by Councilman Koch. Any discussion about?
So
this is
so
how
just
it's
to be clear,
read.
you're wanting to activate grade 123 and deactivate grade 122 and move forward with a financial impact tonight without doing a budget amendment? Yes?
Yep.
Okay.
She's asking for it. Okay. And so all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye.
Carl, you didn't come through.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nay.
So you were for or against?
Say again, please. I didn't hear you.
So there was a motion on the table to approve the resolution.
Right, I'm nay because I thought this was, as Councilmember Lavaca brought out as a clarity point, and thought that this is a financial impact. And I was under the understanding that it was just a position change. So I thank you for that information.
Okay.
I'm nay as.
Thank you. Okay, so with that then, I'm really sorry. I'm just going to have to go through it one more time because I didn't get everybody and hear everyone. So we're just going to go down the line. So Kevin, or Councilmember Loy, are you for or against? Okay. Lavaca?
I am against.
Against.
I am for it.
I'm for it.
And then he was against. So motion denied.
Mayor Kesty, can I make a new motion?
Yes, you may.
I would motion to approve the master salary schedule for 2026 ASME and non-represented staff, while keeping the associate planner position deactivated until such time we can find the money for it in our next budget amendment for the fiscal impact.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I would second that motion, Madam Mayor.
Okay. I have a motion by Councilmember Henderson, seconded by Councilmember Lavaca to approve the master salary schedule for ASME and for the updating the non-represented staff and associated staff master salary schedule for non-represented staff,
while keeping the associate planner position deactivated and the assistant planner remains activated.
Perfect. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Opposed.
Okay. Carl, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Were you for or
Support the
against?
motion. Aye.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Loy?
Sorry about that.
Is he, we got him?
Yeah, I got him, but I don't got you.
Nay.
Nay. All right, so the motion passes. Thank you. All right, moving on.
Madam Mayor, if I can interject, I believe Dan Curtis had something to say.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dan. Go ahead.
Mayor, would you mind just stating the vote count on the record, please?
Sure, let's go through it one more time. Kevin Loy, were you for or against? Against. Mr. Lavaca, for or against?
I'm for.
Councilmember Henderson.
For.
Councilmember Peterson.
For.
Councilmember Cock.
Against.
And Councilmember DeYoung.
For.
There you go, Dan.
4-2.
Thank you, Mayor.
4-2. All right. Moving on, I am going to give this off to the purchase of a police department vehicles to Dan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. This is a typical request that we are doing every year. We are budgeted for 3 police vehicles per year for the amount of $300,000. So our replacement cycle is right around the 7 to 10 year range, and we continually budget for that and adjust as appropriate. This year, we're looking for the purchase of new police interceptor vehicles, Ford Explorer 2026 in the hybrid models. And what we're looking at doing that is, one, to try and see how much savings in fuel we can get from them by doing so. I think we're going to save some money. Reference that the hybrid models do cost $3,500 more than the gas engines, but after comparing the hybrid vehicle we got from last year and last year's budget cycle and the gas engine comparatively, and they're both outfitted and deployed. We don't have much to go off of, but deployed in January, mid-January. But comparing those, just alone from the 3 months we've had them and in progress, we've already saved $526. So looking forward as we go towards the year, I think we're looking probably at least $2,500 in savings this year as the prices have increased continually with the fuel costs. I don't think there's going to be any difference in maintenance costs. They're police vehicles. We're going to run them. We're going to drive them. We're going to put miles on them. What the big difference is we do a lot of idling. So a lot of stationary thing in the hybrid really helps in that method. The difference in miles per gallon just based off those 3 months is 5 miles per gallon difference. So based on that, this is a normal request. I'm just asking for approval and making a motion to approve the request.
All right, thank you. Anyone for discussion? Councilmember Cock?
Yes.
Oh, you're late.
Oh, sorry. Chief, I really appreciate your desire to save money, especially with gas and fuel prices are what they are. I've been test driving some cars, and I test drove some hybrid SUVs, and they're quick. I don't know about a police cruiser, but I was really surprised.
I hear that they're all right. It's a little different type of vehicle. Like I said, we've only been using them for 3 months after deployed. Some like the other ones, but this is also a fuel savings, and I think the performance is going to be quite comparable.
Thank you.
Councilmember Lavaca.
Yeah. Thank you very much for looking into that. I think the hybrid is probably a great solution, especially if we're looking at, transitioning over as part of the comp plan we just approved, looking at feasibility studies and seeing what we can show as improvements we've made. So I think that's a great choice if you guys are liking them. Just don't want to find out or get you guys in a situation where you're not getting vehicles that'll accommodate. So I trust you got that first, and then then secondly, trying to figure out the right vehicle, so.
They're all police rated and standard. It's just the difference is the hybrid versus it's a little bit less horsepower, but it's comparable.
Councilmember DeYoung, did you have your hand raised?
Yes, I did.
Oh.
Chief, thanks for responding. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you? Okay. Chief, thanks for responding to the email. And on balance, I'm in support of this motion. I like the ideas that you have of pulling out some units that will be out of regular service. It's going to be, I think you've put some great thought into it. Also, I appreciated you sending me over the Lake Stevens, City of Lake Stevens analysis of the comparison of life cycle operating costs between the hybrid patrol units and the non-hybrid alternatives. That was very informative. Thank you kindly for doing that. And also, I just want to say thank you for all the hard work. The department's been under some intense work lately, and wanted to send my appreciation again for the professionalism. Oh yeah, and also that thanks for the note that if we don't take action tonight, that this could result in not being able to meet the order deadline of the end of the month. So all those are important points. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Henderson?
Well, as always, you already answered all my questions. Everything here is on budget, and it's ER&R funded. It's all ready to go. This is just a formality. This was in your budget that you passed last year. So with that, I'd move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve purchase of 3 new patrol cars for $194,971.75, and the purchase of additional necessary equipment to outfit $99,000, $99,091.22. Total amount of $294,062.97 by Councilmember Henderson, seconded by Councilmember Cock. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries.
If I can make one comment as well on the ER&R fund, thanks for bringing this forward. I know that we can always kind of pass it through the consent agenda, but it's really good. I feel above $30,000. That's a great threshold for ER&R, just to bring it in and discuss it before the council, especially if it's a vehicle purchase or large purchases. So do appreciate that. Thanks.
Perfect, thank you. Now we are going to go on the development agreement amendment for Bucko Platte. Bill, is that going to be you or Peter?
Yes, ma'am. Peter may stand up and add some things too if council has specific questions. So I'll kind of roll through this as succinctly as possible here. A little bit of history so what we have is the Jones-John Liner Trail Road Corridor. This is the trail road part of that title. And as Mark developed that, one of the concepts was to have a connecting street from Jones Road to Cook Road through the trail road rough alignment. And as the Bucko Platte was being developed, they were going to develop the southern half of Trail Road as basically their local access street. And this is something, and so Mark entered into a developer agreement as kind of a public-private partnership to upgrade that section of local street to an arterial standard to be able to handle the Jones-John Liner Trail Road Corridor project. This is something that's not uncommon in public works, where what you've done is you have a private developer or industrial developer of some kind. It can happen in a couple different ways. I've done this with water reservoirs, upsizing or something to meet a greater public need. And so what happens is the the jurisdiction, in this case Sedro-Woolley, pays the difference of what that cost would be for upgrading to an arterial. Well, one of these challenges was crossing Brickyard Creek as well. In 2022, it was conceived as just about a 9-foot culvert. What we found is that we needed really more capacity than what a 9-foot culvert could provide. And so I'm going to deviate a little bit for some education. It doesn't matter whether you create a culvert or a bridge. Everything that spans less than 20 feet is a culvert, and everything that spans more than 20 feet, and that's a center line, is a bridge, even if it's really a culvert. Okay, it goes onto the bridge, the national bridge system, so it gets inspected and things. Also, the definition of that 20-foot is on the hypotenuse of something, and this is a hypotenuse calculation, and we've been trying several iterations to keep it a culvert because it is a simpler way to track it. It was time to stop trying too hard and just make it a bridge the way it's supposed to be. So what we have is a cost differential that we need to cover as part of that developer's agreement, and we're updating the developer's agreement to add more specificity from what was contemplated in 2024 to what, or 2022 to what we are now finding in 2026. This is something where a couple different details with this. It is still a non-prevailing wage public-private partnership project, and the delineation for that is whether or not 50% of the cost is private, and then it's a private project. So there's a 50-50 demarcation. So if more than 50% of the project is public, prevailing wages don't apply. If more than 50% of the project is actually public, then it needs to become a public project. So, and the public portion of this entire project is $2,466,000 in today's dollars, and then the public portion is $727,000. So this is still an upgrade for us, and the folks at BYK were willing to build a bigger road for us to do this. We have also run through the funding iterations of all of our funding. So this would come out of REIT funding, okay? And we have gone through, rather, Peter has gone through the different funding scenarios to 2029 to support all of our projects. We have several, and we stay in the black throughout all this with about a $2 million surplus in all of those funding sources in 2030. So it allows us to continue building projects and meeting those project matches with this increase in funding in order to cover the bridge and cost escalations of construction and things like that. Any questions?
Do we have any questions up here, or do you guys just feel so good about it that you're ready to make a motion?
I feel really good about it. I'll make a motion.
Okay. Let me read the exact thing that you want.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion made by Councilwoman Peterson, seconded by Councilmember Lavaca to motion to authorize the mayor or designee to execute the attached development agreement amendment with minor corrections as required between the City of Sedro-Woolley and Bucko Surveyors Trust LLC to allow construction of the Brickyard Creek Road crossing as part of the North Trail Road Arterial Project. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. There you go. Okay, Kelly, take away for us the procedures filling the vacant Ward 2 position.
Hello again, Council and Mayor. Included in the packet is the procedures for filling the Council Ward 2 position, as Councilmember Kesty was appointed mayor and left so therefore that position is vacant. a lot of this wording of like the documents attached are similar to the filling of the Ward 6 position. We did make a couple of changes based on council comments and Mayor Kestie's comments. So we're going to go through that. I'm just going to go through the timeline, but if you have any questions or would like clarification on any items, please let me know. So the position became vacant April 8th. And then at tonight's meeting, reviewing the procedures. After the procedures have been approved, we'll publish announcement on social media, city website, and local newspaper asking for applicants who are eligible to apply. And then a change from the way we filled the Ward 6, we'll ask council to submit potential interview questions to myself. Those can just be sent through email or, if you want to write something down, hand it to me at the next meeting. And then on May 13th, council will review the procedures for the interview and will review the list of submitted interview questions just to make sure there's no overlap or anyone wants to change their question. Then we'll have a finalized list of questions. I think we landed on 2 questions per person that we will just run through those exact questions for all of the applicants being interviewed. And we'll provide that list to all applicants as well as post the list of questions on our website. The deadline for submitting applications would be May 20th by 4 p.m. And then on May 27th, the council would review applications and select applicants to interview by nomination and second. A change from previous that the council would interview candidates that same night and make a motion to who would be filling that position. One thing we could remove from this, similarly to last time, is removing the executive session. So open to discussion about whether you'd like that removed from this process. And then the new council member would be sworn in and sit at the dais at the end of the May 27th meeting. There's also a deadline for when council needs to fill this vacancy. If it's not filled within 90 days, which is till July 7th, it will go over to the county to fill the vacancy.
Thank you, Kelly. Do we have any discussion about the potential removing of the executive session? Council Member Peterson?
I am happy to see the line regarding the executive session removed. 2 things that I noticed as I was reviewing this are, number 1, we don't have, last time we filled a council position, we had a period of time between when we announced all of the applicants publicly and when we held interviews, and during that time we were able to receive a lot of comments from the public regarding the applicants. So I thought that was important. Excuse me. And then the other thing is the way this is laid out, it appears that we will be finalizing the list of questions, giving the list to the applicants, and then not asking any follow-up questions. And to me, follow-up questions are really essential to any interview process, and it's unusual to, it's unusual to provide the list, but really the follow-up questions for me is an important piece.
You get 3 in total, and so you would get the 2 questions and then a follow-up question, or you could use the other question and use a follow-up extra if you'd like. Councilmember Henderson?
Yeah, I'm fine with getting rid of the executive session. I don't think we need to do that. I think the way it went last time, having a very open discussion, got everything out in the open.
Okay, Councilmember Cock?
Yeah, could I have some clarity on the questions that council members send in? Do we each send in 2 questions, is that? And then, so are those our questions, or are they just the questions everybody asks?
So you will get your 2 questions that you'd like to ask, and then Kelly's going to look over them and review so that if you have the same ones as
I see.
him, we'll make modifications that.
So this will be my questions. If there is redundancy, how do I get another question?
There won't be redundancy because by the time the list becomes to all of you, that will have already been their individual questions. So you get your 2, and if he asks the same thing, then we'll meet up with you to say, did you want to ask something else?
Okay.
So that
That's
would
fine.
be worked out.
That's fine, thank you.
So that everybody, it's fairness across the board. Everyone knows the questions that they're getting.
And we'll bring the questions to the May 13th council meeting. So if there's any discussion or need to change, we can address them at that point.
Councilmember Lavaca?
Well, thank you very much. Yes, I am in favor for removing the executive session as well. I do like the streamlined appointment so that we basically have an interview if that's capable at that point, and then have that discussion right then. I do like the follow-up question, so I'm glad that we do have that. I understand having an equal set of questions that we can ask, but there may be a follow-up depending on the answers, so there has to be some freedom and leeway with that. So I do like that fact as well. It was seeming how we just went through this whole thing, and I think it was a good learning curve where we were refining the process. It looks great.
And Councilmember DeYoung, I see your hand up.
I'm unmuted. Oh, thank you. Kelly, thanks for streamlining this. I think compacting the timeline is beneficial to the service of the residents of Sedro-Woolley. And thank you for taking the input from the council and the mayor on this. Again, the deadlines are the deadlines, and they are not the waiting period. So if there's any room that we can make this leaner to quicken the process, I'm in favor of that. I'm also in support of transparency and sunshining the thought process of the council. So I think removing the executive session is appropriate. I'm also interested in if folks are getting input from the community, that is made public. So it is something that the candidates can consider and have a response for. Additionally, I hear that we're limited to 3 questions with 1 follow-up question that might not be, it'll be up to their own judgment to a council member to ask, and might not be something that all candidates are asked. Am I correct in that?
2 scripted questions and a potential follow-up.
Potential follow-up. And again, the question I have is that question, the follow-up question is not necessarily for the other candidates as the other 2 would be. And so the follow-up is on a case-by-case basis.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for all the hard work on this, and I look forward to working the process. Thank you for listening.
Councilmember Cock, you have your light on?
Sorry.
Okay. Councilmember Henderson?
Councilman DeYoung brought up a good point about the follow-up. Those are unscripted, right? But as we all understand, a follow-up is a follow-up to a previous answer that you were given. It's not in the spirit of professionalism. I think we're all professional enough to understand that a follow-up isn't a curveball. In an interview process. So I know we've all sat through interviews before, and so, yeah, I'm good with that.
So do you need a motion, or is it just good enough? We'll need a motion for it to remove the executive session?
You could make, if you could make all one motion to approve the, up there's two options. If you wanted to remove the executive session or make any other changes, a motion to approve the procedures, amending, and then however you would like to amend procedures.
Can I get a quick, Madam Mayor, point of clarity?
Sure.
So if we get 10 applicants on May 27th, we review and discuss the applicants and then decide as a council who moves forward in the process so that we're not spending 30 minutes on each applicant, correct? Yes. Is that correct? Am I interpreting that right?
How it
Just want to make sure.
how it's listed here is, you would see you'd see all the applicants in the packet.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd review that way. Then council would come to discuss who they're going to interview. And on that same night, interview the applicants. The governance handbook does say the interview will be no more than 30 minutes. And again, these are all council procedures, so any of those can be amended.
So on, when we advertise for this position, we're going to make that clear that they might come to the council on the 27th, but may not move forward in the interview process. Or those that are selected will move forward in the interview process, and then after that, the council will discuss and deliberate on it in open form. Okay. So I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion for removing the executive session, and I believe we're looking at the option of just removing, because we're not really making any other amendments on it. So just removing the executive session.
Okay, do I have a second?
I have a second and a discussion.
Okay, so I have a motion by Councilmember Lavaca and seconded by Councilmember Henderson, but for discussion, go ahead.
Councilman Lavaca, which option were you picking? Because there's two.
So it was the motion that was presented that is to fill the vacancy with removing the executive session, which is on the layout right here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It says it'll be an open session.
Okay. Yep.
So option one. Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same
Aye.
sign. Motion passes. All right.
Madam Mayor?
Oh, yes? Mr.
Yeah, I have a further question about the Councilmember Lavaca highlighted it about if we had 10 applicants, which would be fantastic. Are we going to limit our interview process to 3, or is that a flexible number as well? Could we just limit it to 1 or to the 10? What is the time constraint, and what is the maximum number of candidates or a minimum number of candidates we will be interviewing? Thank you.
Council Governance Handbook doesn't outline a minimum or maximum number. Those that get a nomination in second will be interviewed. But again, these are council rules, so if you wish to amend, that's up to council.
So they could just pull them out individually, do the name, move, if there's a second, then that person moves on. If there isn't, then they're not moving on.
Yeah, and if there are 20 applicants and the council says that's going to be a lot, that's going to be a long night, we want to limit it to 5, you could decide that up front.
Okay. All right, and now I've lost. Okay. All right, so if there isn't anything for the good of the order, we will be moving into executive session. to discuss with legal counsel about current or potential litigation, RCW 42.30.1101I, for 30 minutes. And we would be going in at 8:54 and be coming out at, which one? 9:24. We're going to extend for 5 minutes till 9:28. All right, it is 9:29. There was no decision made, and I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, I've got a motion by Councilwoman Peterson, seconded by Councilmember Lavaca. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourning. Thank you, Carl. Good night.